Once upon a time, in a quaint West African village nestled by the banks of a siren river, there lived a young lady named Adanna'S. Adanna'S was known for her kindness, diligence, and adventurous spirit. Every Saturday, she would trek down the river with her basket of laundry, singing sweet melodies as she scrubbed the clothes clean against the smooth stones. One Saturday morning, as Adanna'S washed her clothes by the river bank, a strange mist enveloped her and she suddenly found herself in a dazzling underworld kingdom. Startled but unharmed, she looked around in wonder as she realized she was surrounded by mermaids. Their pelting tails were shimmering in the celestial lights. To her amazement, the mermaids greeted her with reverence, treating her like royalty. They adorned her with pearls, sang melodious songs in her honor, and presented her with gifts fit for a princess. Adanna'S was bewildered, yet exhilarated by the unexpected journey to the water kingdom. "Welcome, my child," a gentle voice boomed from behind. Adanna'S spun around to see who was speaking. Before her stood a magnificent creature, a stunning black mermaid with a shimmering golden tail. She was adorned in gold from head to feet, wearing a golden crown and holding a staff on her right hand. Adanna'S was awestruck by the sight before her, her mouth hanging open and her eyes wide with wonder as she gazed at the beauty of the Mermaid Queen. "Sorry, ma'am," she stammered. I am Adanna'S, and I'm human. I have a mother and a father, so I cannot be your child. You must have mistaken me for someone else." "Immortals don't make mistakes, my dear," the Mermaid Queen responded with a warm smile. "Come," she urged Adanna'S. "It is time for you to know your true identity." Without hesitation, Adanna'S quickly followed the Mermaid Queen to her chamber. The room was stunning, adorned with pearls and gold decorations. Adanna'S stood in awe, still shocked by the beauty of the Mermaid Queen's chamber. "Will you like a glass of wine, my child?" the Mermaid Queen asked gently, offering a glass of red liquid to Adanna'S. "No, ma'am, thank you. I am fine," Adanna'S replied. The Mermaid Queen, a bit disappointed, smiled and placed the glass on a golden stool nearby. "Why am I here?" Adanna'S asked the Queen. "You are here to know your true purpose," the Mermaid Queen responded calmly. "It is time for you to fulfill your destiny, my child, and also to rule by my side." Adanna'S eyes widened in disbelief. "Huh?" she exclaimed. "What destiny?" The Queen, a bit frustrated, responded, "Your destiny. You are of royal blood in this kingdom. You were sent to the human world to fulfill a task and prove yourself." Adanna'S gasped, still stunned by the revelation. "Years ago, a young woman desperate for a child sought help from one of my priestesses. She was desperate and willing to do anything because her marriage was at the verge of a breakup. So as usual, my priestesses consulted me to look into her situation," the Mermaid Queen continued, her voice calm and reassuring. "I saw this as an opportunity to send you to the world through her to fulfill your assignment. We are from the dark side, and each and every royal blood has an assignment to fulfill to prove their self. You must be able to please the Dark Master, or we will lose our royalty. You are the eldest among my children, and you are royalty. You must prove yourself. This is to prove to your subjects that you are brave enough to take my place when the time comes, and this has been the traditions for hundreds of years." "So what is the assignment?" Adanna'S asked, sitting beside the Mermaid Queen. With an eerie smile, the Mermaid Queen replied gently, "Souls. As the eldest among my children, you have to kill 1,000 humans within the next 3 years." "What?" Adanna'S screamed. You want me to take the life of innocent people to prove I am fit to rule? Is this a joke? No, my dear, the Mermaid Queen responded gently. It is not a joke. You see, blood is life and we need to survive. Our blood banks must be constantly filled to ensure the survival of our people. Wait, Addanna pushed the Mermaid Queen's hand away. Is that, she stammered, pointing to the Queen's wine glass. Is that blood? Yes, the Mermaid Queen responded. Like I said, we need human blood to survive. It's just like the jungle. Kill or be killed. No, Addanna screamed. I will never take the life of a human being. There must be another way. There is no other way, my dear, the Queen responded with a wicked smile. I will not do it, Addanna shouted, walking away from the Queen. You will fulfill your destiny or face the consequences. The choice is yours. The Mermaid Queen screamed as Addanna stormed out of the room. Addanna suddenly found herself on the banks of the river again with a golden bangle on her wrist. On the bangle was an image of a mermaid wrapped around it. She quickly removed the bangle from her wrist and threw it into the river. Breathing a sigh of relief, she fled home. Upon her arrival home, she saw a group of people sitting around her house weeping bitterly. She also saw 2 policemen talking to her devastated parents. Addanna called out to her parents, running towards them. Everyone was shocked to see her, but at the same time, they were relieved and happy that she was safe. Addanna happily embraced her parents, tears streaming down her face. Where have you been for the past 2 weeks, my daughter? Her worried mother asked, holding her tightly. 2 weeks? You mean I have been gone for 2 weeks, mother? Addanna asked in shock, her voice trembling with emotions. Mother, my eyes have seen the unthinkable. I will tell you and father everything when everyone has left. After Addanna's parents thanked everyone for their help, they gently asked everyone to leave. A few hours later, Addanna's home once again became quiet and peaceful. Left with just her and her parents, Addanna began to narrate her experience in the Marine Kingdom and what they wanted her to do. Shocked by what they had heard, Addanna's parents, who were deeply religious people, decided to take her to their local church the next day for spiritual cleansing. Unknown to them, this seemingly mundane decision will unleash a series of powerful attacks from the Marine Kingdom that will test the very foundations of their faith. They arrived at church early the next day, and the pastor, who had been informed earlier about Adanna'S experience, quickly ordered his prayer warriors to usher them into the prayer chamber. Addanna was asked to kneel while the pastor and the prayer warriors surrounded her. Chants and religious worship filled the room, followed by battle prayers echoing loudly. Suddenly, a glowing light appeared, and the Mermaid Queen materialized. With anger in her eyes, she struck down the pastor, who immediately fell into a coma. The prayer warriors, realizing what had happened, fled the scene, leaving behind their Bibles, anointing oil, and other religious items. It was a chaotic and frightening scene. "You insects!" she shouted angrily, her voice booming in the room as she pointed her staff towards Adanna'S terrified parents. "You think your pastor can defeat me? I am the most powerful Marine Queen in the whole Mermaid Kingdom. I sit and dine with the Dark Master himself. How dare you think this mere mortal man, with the smell of immorality and human weakness, can defeat me?" Adanna'S parents stood there, trembling in fear, realizing the enormity of the situation. "Leave my parents alone," Addan'a scolded the Mermaid Queen, her voice filled with courage as she confronted her. With an evil smile, the mermaid turned to Addan'a. "You ignorant fool," she sneered. "No one can save you, my child. You are the daughter of the Marine Kingdom, a royal blood of the mermaid world. Darkness runs through your veins." Addan'a felt a chill down her spine at the words of the Queen. "Accept your destiny and fulfill your assignment, or I will take away everything you hold dearly. Time is running out, she whispered to Adanna'S, so you better get started. Suddenly, she vanished, leaving behind a hood of smoke that filled the room. Adanna'S parents fled in terror, their screams echoing through the church's corridors. But Adanna'S, though breathing heavily and visibly angry, stood her ground. There must be another way, she whispered to herself. I will not commit murder. I will not take the life of innocent people, she cried. I must find a way to defeat this woman and save my family. Desperate for solutions, Adanna'S family tried other avenues. They visited one prayer house to another seeking help, but each time it ended in disappointment. The Mermaid Queen always managed to defeat the pastors. She also exposed their hidden sinful secrets, which rendered them powerless against the Mermaid Queen. Disheartened by their failures, Adanna'S parents sought alternative solutions to help their daughter. They had heard of a powerful witch doctor living in a dark forest in a distant town and had decided to seek his assistance. The next day, before the sun rose, they embarked on a journey to find him. It was a long and tedious journey, but with the guidance of the locals, they finally located the compound of the witch doctor. The atmosphere was dark and gloomy, and the compound was filled with idols and candles everywhere. Strange voices were heard from left, right, and center, and this terrified Adanna'S parents. Greetings, my children, the witch doctor greeted. He wore a long red robe adorned with cowrie shells, and his left eye was painted white. Beside him stood two young virgin girls, their attire barely minimal, adorned with pieces of clothes. Each held out a small pot containing burning embers. Baba, Adanna'S parents fell on their knees in front of the witch doctor. They quickly recounted their daughter's plight, explaining the spiritual attacks she faced from the powerful Mermaid Queen. The witch doctor listened intently, nodding solemnly as they spoke. I see, he murmured, stroking his chin in deep thought. This is a grave matter indeed. You are in the right place, my son, the witch doctor assured them. Give me your hand, Adanna'S, the witch doctor asked in a commanding voice. A visibly frustrated Adanna'S quickly obeyed without hesitation. She was fed up of everything and couldn't wait for this to be over. The witch doctor quickly gave her a small cut in her palm and asked her to squeeze her hand for her blood to ooze into the little calabash beneath her. As Adanna'S blood dripped into the calabash, the witch doctor muttered incantations under his breath. His eyes closed in deep concentration. The atmosphere became tense as the ritual progressed. Adanna'S terrified parents watched anxiously, hugging each other in fear. Finally, the witch doctor nodded with satisfaction, indicating that the ritual was complete. Satisfied by the amount of blood in the calabash, he gently carried it to the next room. Give me some time to consult the gods, my children. I will be back, he assured them. More incantations and chants were heard all over the room, and this went on for a while. After an hour, the witch doctor hurriedly stormed out of the inner chamber, trembling in anger and fear. All of you, get out! Get out now, he screamed. How dare you! This young lady is the daughter of the queen. How dare you mislead me with your stories? But Baba, Adanna'S father pleaded. Enough! The witch doctor interrupted him. You better leave here before I turn you into a coconut. Realizing there was no solution, they gathered their things and quickly left the witch doctor's temple. Adanna'S stood there speechless, shocked at what she just experienced. Your Highness, the witch doctor called out to Adanna'S, bowing to her. Please listen to me, he pleaded, still bowing in reverence to her. Your mother is not someone to mess with. She has no sympathy, and she is the most powerful queen in the Marine Kingdom. I will advise you to obey her instructions and fulfill the assignment before it's too late. Besides, there are millions of people in the world. Taking the life of a few thousand lost souls is nothing. People die every day. So please, fulfill your destiny by completing the assignment given. I will never kill anyone, Adanna'S replied angrily. I'd rather die. Then prepare for the consequences, Your Highness. the witch doctor responded, still bowing to Addanna. Feeling frustrated with everything, Addan'a angrily stormed out of the witch doctor's temple. As Addan'a walked along the narrow bush road, the words of the witch doctor echoed in her mind, weighing heavily on her heart. She felt conflicted and torn between her moral compass and the expectations placed upon her by the Mermaid Queen. But despite the pressure, she knew that she could never betray her principles by taking a life. As she joined her weary parents on the roadside, a sense of despair washed over her. They had sought help everywhere, but it seems there was no escape from the dark fate that loomed over them. What are we going to do now? Adanna's's mother cried out, still gasping for air. I will find a way myself, Addan'a briefly murmured to herself. They entered the waiting cab together and journeyed back home. As they rode home in silence, Adanna's's mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. She couldn't bear to see her parents in such distress and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily upon her shoulders. She was determined to find a solution and also to confront the challenges that lay ahead no matter the cost. Two months later, Addan'a found herself plagued by inexplicable nightmares. Night after night, she would wake up screaming in terror, her body drenched in sweat. Her parents were deeply troubled by the distress but felt powerless to provide a solution. Despite their efforts to comfort her, the nightmares persisted, casting a shadow over their home. A year later, tragedy struck Adanna's's family. Her father became very ill, and despite their efforts to save him, his condition worsened and he eventually succumbed to his illness. Addan'a watched helplessly as her beloved father took his last breath in the arms of her grieving mother. With his passing, a profound sense of loss descended upon their home. Addan'a and her mother were left to navigate the daunting challenges ahead on their own. 2 years later, another tragedy struck again. Adanna's's mother passed away, leaving Addan'a utterly devastated. Left alone to fend for herself, Addan'a confronted her challenges head-on. With unwavering determination, she shouldered the responsibility of providing for herself and also refused to yield to the pressure imposed by the Mermaid Queen. Drawing strength from the memories of her parents and the promise she made to herself, Addan'a persevered through the darkest of days. Despite the tedious journey ahead, she remained steadfast in the determination to uphold her principles and carve out a future filled with hope and resilience. One day, while washing her client's clothes in the river, the Mermaid Queen appeared to her. "Look at you," she mocked Addan'a. "You, a daughter from a royal bloodline, living as a pauper because you have refused to fulfill your task. I may not have riches or power like you," she replied bravely, "but I have something more valuable, and that is integrity and the love of my late parents. I will never betray their memory or my conscience with that." She continued her job. The Mermaid Queen mockingly laughed at her. "You are such an ignorant child. This wretched dying world has made you so soft. Think of these souls like hunted animals. Besides, humans hunt and kill animals every day. Humans are simply animals to us too. This crown comes with responsibilities, my child. So please wake up," the queen pleaded. "You have to prove yourself." "By killing innocent people for their blood," Addan'a swiftly interrupted her. "Yes," the Mermaid Queen replied. "We need to survive." Addan'a paused for a moment, her hands still in the soapy water. She looked up at the Mermaid Queen with a mixture of defiance and sadness in her eyes. "I understand your concerns," she said softly, "but I cannot bring myself to take the lives of innocent people just to prove my worthiness. There must be another way to survive without resorting to such violence." The Mermaid Queen's expression softened for a brief moment before hardening again. "You are a stubborn child," she sighed, "but I will not give up on you. You have until the next full moon to reconsider your decisions. If you do not comply by then, there will be consequences." With that, the Mermaid Queen disappeared beneath the surface of the water, leaving Adanna'S alone with her thoughts. Adanna'S life took a turn for the worst in the following months. She began losing her clients one after the other, unable to pay her bills. Eventually, she was evicted from her apartment. The landlord became tired of waiting for the rent she could not afford. With nowhere else to turn to, Adanna'S found herself homeless, wandering the streets with only the clothes on her back and the weight of her troubles on her shoulders. As the suffering and frustration weighed heavily on her, Adanna'S' mental state began to deteriorate. She found herself wandering the streets aimlessly, surviving on scraps and exhibiting erratic behaviors. Despite her descending gradually into madness, Adanna'S remained steadfast in her decision. A year later, Adanna'S reached her breaking point. Consumed by despair and hopelessness, she resolved to end her own life. She found a rope nearby and made her way into an uncompleted building where she intended to end her life. Just as she was about to carry out her tragic plan, she was startled by the sound of sweet voices singing worship songs nearby. The voices grew louder, their melody washing over her like a soothing balm. Mesmerized by the heavenly sound, she felt a glimmer of hope ignite within her. It was as if the songs were speaking directly to her, urging her not to surrender to despair so easily. She gently stepped out from the bricks she had gathered to help her reach the suicide rope and started tracing the voices. As she followed the sound of the singing, her heart pounded with anticipation. She navigated through the narrow streets, guided by the celestial melodies that seemed to beckon her forward. With each step, she felt a glimmer of hope flicker within her soul. As Adanna'S entered the church, the congregants paused their rehearsal, startled by her disheveled appearance and unkempt state. Murmurs of concern and disapproval rippled through the congregants as they eyed her with uncertainty. Some whispered prayers for her, while others cast judgment glances. Yet Adanna'S remained undeterred, her eyes fixed on the source of the enchanting music. The ushers quickly rushed to send her away, but the pastor, sensing something strange, stopped them. He gently walked towards her and started praying for her. As the pastor approached Adanna'S, he extended his hands in prayer, invoking the divine to intervene in her distress. Suddenly, Adanna'S collapsed to the ground, her body convulsing uncontrollably. At that moment, the atmosphere in the church shifted dramatically. The once bright lights began to flicker erratically, casting shadows across the congregants and dimming the vibrant energy in the room. As the chaos unfolded, flashes of light illuminated the church, causing panic among some parishioners who fled in fear. However, others stood their ground, joining the pastor in fervent prayer for Adanna'S deliverance. In the midst of it all, the Mermaid Queen materialized, her expression twisted in anger as she brandished her staff. She hurled accusations at the pastor, denouncing his interference and warning him to stay away from those aligned with darkness. Amidst the commotion, the pastor, guided by a steadfast pure spirit, stood his ground and confronted the Mermaid Queen. Undeterred by her menacing presence, he addressed her with unwavering resolve as his congregation continued their prayers. "You speak the truth, harbinger of darkness," he declared. "Indeed, light and darkness are incompatible. However, this child has made her choice and has embraced the light. She is no longer one of you. Darkness may have once claimed her, but in the light, she finds her true identity," he proclaimed boldly. "For those who embrace the light become new creations, leaving behind the darkness of their past. Even your master cannot change this truth, for he himself was created by the very light he rejects," he mocked the Mermaid Queen. Furious by the pastor's word, the Mermaid Queen unleashed all her might on the pastor and his prayer partners. But the pastor continued to resist the queen's attack as the congregation continued praying fervently, refusing to be swayed by fear. They stood firm in their faith. Eventually, the power of their united prayer overcame the darkness, and the Mermaid Queen was forced to retreat defeated. "This is not over," she screamed as she vanished into thin air. With songs of victory and gratitude, the congregation celebrated the triumph of light over darkness. They thanked God for his protection and guardians. They knew God had heard their prayers and delivered Adanna'S from the clutches of darkness. In the dramatic display of divine intervention, Adanna'S slowly regained her consciousness. She felt a sudden release from the dark spiritual torment that had haunted her for so long. With tears of gratitude streaming down her face, she thanked the man of God and his members for setting her free from the clutches of darkness. After the victory over the Mermaid Queen, Adanna'S life took a positive turn. With the support of the pastor and his wife, they generously offered to sponsor her education, allowing her to return to school and pursue her dreams. Adanna'S was filled with gratitude for their kindness and support, and she worked hard to excel in her studies. Adanna'S was now living a normal life, but she never forgot her extraordinary encounter with the mermaids. She knew she was truly blessed to have been saved from a horrible fate. Though the scars of her spiritual battle still lingered, Adanna'S emerged stronger and more determined than ever before. With each passing day, she embraced the challenges that came her way with grace and courage. She knew God was with her, and she was not alone in her journey. As the sun set on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the village, Adanna'S stood by the river bank, her heart filled with gratitude for the blessings that has come her way. She whispered a silent prayer of thanks to the one who had guided her through the darkest of time and also providing her a new home. "Thank you, God, for everything," she whispered. "You are indeed a good God. Thank you for saving me." She took a deep breath, exhaled, and gently walked away. Thank you all for being part of this storytelling journey. I hope this narrative resonated with you guys. And if it did, don't forget to show some love by liking, sharing, and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Also hit that notification bell so you will always be notified when we unveil new and captivating stories. Don't forget your thoughts matter to us, so kindly drop a comment below and let us create a space for shared experiences. Until next time, take care and stay blessed. One love, besties.